We could clone you. Then there'd be lots of
lots of towards.
I'm not sure if the world is ready for that.
Okay, so our next kind of topic is around digital transformation and what digital transformation sort of means specifically on the ground, because I think it is definitely a buzzword, and often when these terms come about, there can be confusion about what digital transformation means, or any topic, AI, whatever you might mean. And I think it's important, certainly when you start to talk about it, just to sort of define it. And so for me, digital transformation is very much the combination of, and we've had this conversation quite recently with the Transformation Labs, it's a combination of the people, the process and the technology. And when those sort of three things come together, we get that digital transformation, and we can do it at different scale or with a team, small within a business where you could do it at sort of a larger scale. But I'd be interested to know what you guys sort of feel it means for your customers on the ground, and what sort of implementations or what it looks like for people in terms of practicalities. Do you know what I mean? So this business digitally transformed, this is what it was maybe before, this is what it...
Yeah, I think it's really, really important to just re-emphasize that because if Jamie Smith, my executive chairman, was here, he would be absolutely saying the same things. It's all about the people. And if you're trying to change the culture of an organization, which is what digital transformation is doing, if you forget the people at any stage in that journey, then you lose the whole issue. So I think yes, people, process, and technology. We see the infrastructure as being critical. Went back to the point we're saying. So if we're going to try and use digital technologies, which in essence mean cloud technologies, to do that digital transformation, if you've got infrastructure that sucks, then you are just going to have...
if your Wi-Fi sucks, it's not going to work.
It's going to have a really bad sort of impact. So
it's going to leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth.
You've got to get that done. I think that you have to then build from that digital competency in terms of skills.
End users, skills,
in terms of skills. And there was a lovely professor recently from Surrey University, I think, who I listened to, and she said, in the country as a whole, never mind individual customers, we have to get our infrastructure right. Then we have to raise the level of skills, digital skills, because only when you've got the infrastructure and the skills can you build competency. And that competency might be, my mother who's in her 80s talking to the doctor about changing sort of medicines rather than having to get on the bus to go into the doctors to just say, hey, June, it's fine. Here's what you need to do. Click this button, and the pharmacy will deliver. That's
Amazon pharmacy.
Well, it could be delivered by a drone or the little guy. But
you heard it here first.
my point is that you need the people, the process, the technology, the infrastructure, the skills, the competence.
You need all those things.
And then our skill is to be a digital coach.
Yes.
Because why come to your company, Todd? Why come to your company, Fintan? It's because they trust us, and we can help them over not just one day or 1 month or even 1 year. That this transformation is going to take a longer period of time to truly transform the way the company works today, or the organization, or the school, to the way you want it to get. And if I'm going to do that, I want somebody alongside me who I can trust, who I can work with over a period of time. And that I think is one of the success factors.
And I think that relationship piece, relationship piece you mentioned, and it's different from what people are traditionally used to with IT companies, where it's sometimes transactional, and I'm not going to talk to you for another 3 years because you've just replaced your server or whatever the case may be. With cloud, and I always say this to customers, you're not buying a Mars bar. It's not a transactional sale. It's an ongoing relationship. If I missell you something, or if I give you bad advice, I'm going to be here next year and you're going to say, Fintan, that didn't work out. Do you know what I mean? So I think you're right, it is that sort of long-term relationship.
And definitely, and it's like there are customers. I think the technology as well is is the easiest part to get
Yeah.
in place. It just has
The hard part is the
yeah,
people,
it just has to work
process.
because you can go online and buy 100 G Suite licenses. That's basically not going to solve
No.
anything
Yeah.
in itself. It's a good start, but we have customers coming to us now asking us, okay, we bought these things, we tried to implement it. Half of the company still uses Office.
Yeah.
We're nowhere.
Help!
So adoption and all
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
sort of
and
things.
it's all about the people.
And that's
So,
the people part. Yeah.
And,
Sorry.
No, it's like that's why we also, we have these discussions with you and your companies is to see how we can actually get even better at helping the customers succeed in this. And like you said, earlier on, we did a lot of custom projects, developing stuff. It's basically normally it's a start and an end project. And then you have some maintenance and so on. But if you did actually a proper job, that's almost not happening. Here it's an ongoing thing. Google pushes out new changes and new additions completely. They're just coming. They keep on coming, and to succeed, we see internally too. We need to train basically our own people internally also with new features to be able to adopt new ways of doing stuff. Actually 2 years ago, you would do stuff with G Suite in a different way than you do today.
Yeah, that's true. It's a continuous thing, and that's what we do at the Transformation Labs, which we've discussed. That I think the G Suite and is the technology, and then the change management will help you with the people stuff. But then the process stuff, I think, is things like transformation labs and those innovation labs where you go in and you can do it as part of change management, but you go in and you look at the processes that people have had in place for 1, 5, 10, 20 years and say, okay, this is how you've been doing this, but is this the best way to do this? Could we remove some steps? Could we move this to Google? Could we improve this process? And it's working with individual teams and showing them that they can do that, and how they, as you say, how they can do it themselves, that they can internalize it and become an innovative organization like a Google.
Yeah, and in these times where there are real challenges for the people in the organizations, and let's just take the whole well-being agenda, and we all look at our email box, and after a weekend or whatever else, suddenly there's 160 emails in our email box, and I think, oh, goodness gracious me. The ability for new products and services like Happio that we're here today, having an impact to reduce that by up to 50%.
But the internal communication piece, so many emails are internal.
They are. Then what our customers are looking for is not just the information about the products and services, but show me. Let me talk to somebody who's actually done that and had that impact. And I think
that's why case studies, I think, are hugely important.
They are, but our ability to work together to actually sort of say, I may not have done it, but here is one of my close partners who's done this, and sort of use our network of referenceability. I think we're asking our customers to use all these tools to collaborate together, and we need to do exactly the same.
Yeah, we need to do more of it, definitely, as partners. I know we're pretty good at it, the three of us, but and there are lots of other partners out there who are great at sort of using the network and collaborating. And it's certainly good within the Google space, but I think we all need to work hard to do more of it, because I think it's mutually beneficial to everybody. We were talking about Google and how Google is kind of a company that's not afraid to fail. They're very much about trying something, and if it doesn't work out, just sort of learning from it and moving on. So I'd be interested to know from you guys, what's the kind of biggest failures within your projects that you've done, and what did you kind of learn from them? So whether it was a major thing and how you brought the project back in line, or maybe for ourselves in the early days, Ian, before Tord was part of the Google family. Only an apple in Google's eye. I think there was definitely more challenges then. I think an interesting one for me was how, and it's interesting, we were just talking about change management and the digital transformation piece, that in the early days, I don't know if you remember this, there was, I think me and you chatted about this before, there's a lovely little pie chart that Google have about how you section off a project, and 30% was technical and 30% was project management, and change management used to be about 15%, if I recall correctly. And the technical used to be larger, it used to be sort of 40%. And now, if anyone's familiar with the updated version of this, and not the one from 10 years ago, the change management is now the biggest piece, and it's 40%. And I think that's interesting because that's Google learning from its own challenges and failures over the years of projects and partners as well, and saying actually the people bit, as we were just discussing, is the most important piece. The technical piece was, in fairness, more challenging at the start. Migration tools were not as good as they are now today. In the early days, we had to literally pick up the emails and carry them to Google.
Put them back in.
Yeah, put them back in.
That was definitely before my time.
Yeah. It was very manual process. But for you guys, what are the kind of challenges or failures that you sort of learned the most from?
Yeah, I think in terms of the projects where there's been the greatest challenge, it's often been
to overcome.
it's often been where there's not been sufficient thought given to the amount of professional development and support the training thing. So it's almost like, well, you've had your Google training. So that's it. Yeah, because it was on that sheet. I've done that.
Yeah.
Now off you go. And
your Google now.
Yeah, you'll be able to pick it up and whatever else. And of course, as we said before, that's a skill. It's not a competence. So I may have learned how to use a Google Sheet, but I'm in finance and I have to deliver reports and whatever else, or I'm in the States or wherever it is. So I think that where people have not put enough time and effort into resources into professional development over a long enough period of time. So if people feel I've just got to get on board and do this stuff, then that just puts their backs up and builds blocks and whatever
and
else.
Negativity.
Whereas if they think that this is something that's going to take a couple of years to do, and we don't want all the benefits to be over a long period of time, but this is at the pace of the organisation. Pace, I think, is right.
Yeah.
Some organisations have been brilliant and done it all within a matter of weeks.
Well, it's looking at the organisation's culture as well, isn't it? If they rapid or they slow moving.
Yeah, and also their priorities. And then I think the other factor has been that of the organisational leaders. So if they're saying to all the staff, please use all these tools to deliver whatever you have to do, but then carry on doing themselves something different, then that's sort of saying, don't do as I do as I say. And to me, that has never worked. So again, hats off to all the college and school leaders that we've worked with who actually have taken the challenge, and they use the same tools as they expect all other colleagues and students to use, because then it's believable.
Well, they're leading by example. Yeah, we've actually had that before. We had and I think for me, it's definitely sponsorship, executive sponsorship at the start, not getting that most senior person in the organization. But we had a customer before where everybody was going to be using Google, and then on go live day, I discovered that the CEO was using Outlook. He'd been set up with Outlook, and I was like, dude, come on, this is, definitely don't tell anybody. But
no.
Yeah, so I mean, that's when you end up with that sort of a challenge. That can be difficult.
You can check my laptop. I don't have Office.
I'm gonna check.
That's good. Yeah.
Check. Well, actually, you weren't allowed in until we scanned each laptop. Yeah. What about yourself?
No, it's basically right now we are in the early days when it comes to Google, so we can't afford mistakes because both Google and the customers, they are watching us very closely. But one thing
challenges, not necessarily.
But one thing we learned from earlier on is that we, especially in the early times when we started up the company, we were a little bit more like we listened maybe too much to the customer and didn't believe enough in ourselves. So when we, for example, proposed trainings, which is again, it's the people,
Coming back to
it's the
change
successful
management
factor.
stuff,
Yeah. We noticed that it was too easy for us to when a customer came back and said, "Nah,
cut the price down.
yeah, we need to cut the cost. This looks too much. We don't really need it."
Yeah.
We were letting them have the last word, the final words. And the projects that didn't go that well, that was typically one of the main reasons. Because we should have pushed more on this and said that it just needs to be like this. So we have like a much better setting in that sense. And there is actually one thing I would like to mention in this. It came from a couple of Google people that I met, and that was G Suite people, and they were asked actually the question, what was the biggest failure that they saw in a G Suite project?
Right. Okay.
And the first one was customers that had bought licenses directly from Google. And was completely without a partner.
Yeah.
So probably sounds like I want to sell myself as a partner, but it came. Yeah.
That's okay.
But it came actually from Google because the partner, even we have customers that, let's say, they do at least of the technical stuff. They do 90% themselves.
Yeah, because they're a technical company.
But still having. And that's what the feedback that we get is that to have us as a partner and have a partner when you are sitting in an office in Europe and have a partner close by that can assist you, can help you with these things, advise
and
you.
has the experience from doing it before.
Sometimes we do more talking than invoicing, but again, you get a happy customer, Google gets a happy customer, and in the
probably
future,
higher renewal rates, and if they're more satisfied.
So I think actually that's something to think about. That Google also sees that.
That's interesting.
That's one of the things that they are the reason behind probably that they are pushing for getting 100% partner contact when it comes to customers.
I definitely think I definitely don't think they're there yet, but. It is great to see, and that we've heard at events that's what Google are pushing for, and I hope that eventually it will get to that stage because, absolutely, we've seen the same thing over the last decade or so. That it's the companies, and when we come across them, we'll sometimes come across a company that's a direct Google customer, and they'll move to ourselves, and the usage and the change management, and just the how they're using the product, it tends to be not optimized. And so I think having a Google partner, I remember there was a company, Better Cloud in the US, who used to be very good at doing those surveys. I don't think they do them anymore, but they used to pay someone to do research, and each year they'd release this report. They might still do them, I'm not sure. And they did one a couple of years ago, and it was about the value of a partner, and it was excellent. And it was just talking about renewal rates for customers compared with ones that had partners, didn't have partners, how they leveraged the product, how much they used it, all that kind of stuff. And it tied in with what you're saying. That
and in a shorthand, I guess, for our customers to be successful, then if we can sort of be, in inverted commas, their success managers, then it's about tailoring what that partner needs. So your partner who's very competent, it might be just a QA type of service. Let's just lightly check that everything's been switched on and all these new developments and whatever else have been done. But for another sort of customer, it might be that there's a much more sort of in-depth engagement. There's new products and services and challenges. Come on, so you're always
it varies from customer to customer,
and it can go up and down within a customer.
Within the same
timeline too.
Within the same customer.
So
and you're very engaged at the start often, and then they're deployed, and there's obviously less to do, but you're kind of touching base every quarter. Or year,
that's what we recommend actually, and this is some service that we basically just offer. That we have a discussion, maybe a small workshop with the customer every third month to talk about new features, to see how things are working, if there is a need for more training, or basically sometimes it's just a really nice meeting.
You just have a catch up on it.
Just because we learn from them, they learn from us, and that's important.
It's a win-win, I think so.